Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about freeze-dried dog food, dehydrated dog food, and air-dried dog foods. So I don't know about you, but I've been getting so many advertisements about Sundays, Spot and Tango, and other freeze-dried or air-dried kind of foods that are shelf-stable. So I realized, what the heck even is that? And is that even better than Kibble? How good is it? Where does it fall on the scale? So I decided to do a little research and let's get into it. Because you know what? Your girl doesn't have the funds right now to be buying raw dog food for 4 dogs that are pretty big. So I wanted to find an alternative to Kibble that I can maybe use that is not gonna break the bank. Get a puppy, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Great. Anyway, while she destroys my house, we're gonna film a video anyway because it's been too long. It's been way too long. Alright, so we all know that Kibble is ultra processed. It is processed in very high temperatures. It's processed in mass batches. It's basically not the greatest thing that you can feed your dog in a long term, especially if that's the only thing that they're eating for the rest of their life. If you've seen the Farmer's Dog commercial that comes on every freaking day in my house, then you know that commercial talks very badly about Kibble. But anyway, moving on. So let me tell you what I found out about freeze-dried dog food. So freeze-dried dog food is actually a method of making dog food that takes a raw ingredient, freezes it, and then high pressure converts the ice into water vapor, which then gets extracted through a vacuum, basically leaving the raw ingredient without any moisture and therefore making it a shelf-stable product. Because there is no heat involved at all, this is a very sustainable and nutritious way to preserve food because all of the nutritional content from the original item is still preserved and not modified by heat. Therefore, freeze-dried food actually has a lot more nutritional value than regular Kibble. It is also the closest alternative to feeding raw. This food can also be served directly into the bowl, mixed in with Kibble without having to add anything to it, without having to rehydrate it, without having to defrost it or anything like that, because it is shelf stable. And if you want to learn more about the benefits of feeding raw and why we're even going that way in the first place, then definitely check out the video I did on feeding raw and the controversy and also the pros and cons of feeding raw. I'll leave it linked right here. There are a few benefits to using freeze-dried dog food, and some of them are that you can use it as a treat, you can crumble it up as a topper on top of the Kibble, you can use it just directly as a topper mixed in with Kibble, you can also rehydrate it by using water and waiting around 3 minutes for it to rehydrate to make kind of a wet food paste that can also be mixed in with Kibble. So there are a lot of alternatives to use if you don't want to use it right out of the bag, and you can use it in many different ways, which is actually really beneficial. Moving on to air-dried dog food. Air-dried dog food is something like Sunday. Sundays is a company that makes air-dried dog food, and that is kind of the first time I ever saw air-dried dog food really being advertised to the consumer. It's kind of a new trend in my opinion, but I've seen it pop up a lot recently and I wanted to know what it was. So this is what I found out. Air-dried dog food is really similar to freeze-dried dog food, but the difference is the way that it's manufactured. Instead of freezing the raw product and then taking out the water, they basically take the raw product and put it into an air drying chamber where then air circulates and slowly evaporates the water out of the food. This process locks in the nutritional value of the food as well and also creates a slightly different texture than freeze-dried dog food. If you have a very picky dog that is kind of weird about textures, then maybe air-dried dog food is actually better for your dog because it creates a jerky-like texture, kind of like a treat. And that is the main difference. Freeze-dried dog food is gonna have more of a crunchy, crumbly consistency versus air-dried dog food that's going to have more of a jerky texture, and therefore the jerky texture cannot be rehydrated. Lastly, we have dehydrated food, which by this point you're probably like, aren't these all just the same thing? But I also thought that, and apparently dehydrated food is its own thing and it is actually quite different in the process that they manufacture the product. Dehydrated food kind of reminds me of like MREs or like camping food that you have to put water into to then make it and put it back into its original state. That is kind of what dehydrated food is supposed to be used like. Dehydrated food usually uses a low heat temperature with air circulation in combination for a long period of time in order to achieve dehydrated products. This long process gently removes moisture from the food and creates a shelf-stable product just like the other ones mentioned. Dehydrated food kind of claims that because they use a low heat and do this for a prolonged period of time, that the product actually is a little bit safer because it kills bacteria and salmonella or any other kind of bacteria that could be present when it's frozen or when it is just air dried. And Basil's moving the camera. However, most companies have a way to test their food and are constantly going through audits to make sure that there is no bacteria in their food, so I wouldn't take this as a deal breaker on the other alternatives. On the other hand, some people also argue that because it uses low heat, that it does kind of change the component of the food itself, and therefore the nutritional value of the food kind of goes a little bit lower than the other two because it uses heat. However, all of these options are way better than high heat and highly processed kibble, which is why they are a little bit more expensive than kibble. The way you use dehydrated dog food is by rehydrating it, just like I said with the camping food. You put it in the bowl, you put water, and then you wait around 3 to 5 minutes for it to rehydrate, and then you can feed it to your dog. It is not made to be used as a dry topper. It is actually made to be rehydrated every single time that you use it. As I said, dehydrated food is actually incredibly more nutritionally dense than kibble, and so if you choose to go with this option, then you're still providing a very good nutritional value option for your dog. Dehydrated food sometimes can actually be a little bit more cost effective as well than air dried and freeze dried, so maybe look into that if your budget is on the lower end. As every other one that I've mentioned, dehydrated food can also be mixed with kibble or any other kind of food that you're trying to feed your dog. If you are using dehydrated dog food, you can rehydrate the dehydrated dog food and then add it to the kibble, or you can rehydrate both kibble and dehydrated dog food together in one bowl. It is fine to rehydrate kibble as well, so if you need to do it all in one bowl, that's totally fine as well. My final thoughts on all of this is that all of these dried foods are still very expensive to just someone trying to feed their dogs casually on a regular basis, but if you're looking for a way to make sure that your dog has a little bit more of a nutritionally dense diet, then dehydrated or air dried or any kind of dried food is actually going to be more beneficial than just feeding kibble alone. So if you can only afford maybe 1 bag a month, it's better to feed a little bit than to feed nothing at all. So if you need to mix it with kibble or if you need to mix it with something else, I'd say go for it. They're also very, very palatable for dogs, so a lot of dogs really, really like this kind of food. My dogs have been recently on freeze-dried topper, and they are eating kibble like it's the most gourmet thing they've ever eaten in their life. Even though there's no real mixing, it's just freeze-dried pieces that are going into kibble that are mixed together in a bowl. Everything is dry, no wet food at all, and they've been eating like no tomorrow. So coming from my own dogs, I recommend it because I have a very picky dog, Echo, that literally will not eat, and she will starve before she decides that she wants to eat something that she doesn't want to eat. So she very much likes freeze-dried dog food, and I use it as well in treats and training that is a high-value treat. So it's been working really well for us, and because we have so many dogs, yes, we go through more product, but also because this product is dry and can be crumbled, we use really a little bit of it in every meal to be able to just spice up the meal and make it a little bit more palatable for the dogs. The other thing that I love about these kinds of foods is that you don't need a freaking subscription to any kind of company because they are readily available in most pet food stores. So there are a lot of brands that already make these products that you don't need a subscription for. You don't need to go online and build a profile for your dog and figure out how many pounds of whatever. Like, you don't need to subscribe to any kind of auto ship or anything like that. You could just go to the store, buy a bag of freeze-dried dog food and feed it to your dog whenever you want, and you don't have to figure out any of that other stuff. You can just buy as you go. So I love that aspect because I have a lot of dogs, and sometimes these online companies don't take account that you are going to be feeding it as a topper, and you really just want a little bit in each bowl so that they can just eat and have a good time. So in my opinion, these dried foods are actually really beneficial if you're trying to cut costs and still provide a good nutritional value. So I want to know, have you tried air dried, freeze dried, or dehydrated food? What are your favorite brands? Thank you so much for sticking around till the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you didn't know and haven't been following our shorts lately, we have a new puppy and her name is Basil, and we rescued her from our vacation in Texas. I'm gonna make a whole video on her rescue story and everything that we did to get her here from Texas to Florida, so stay tuned for that. Don't forget to check out the description down below because I have a tail load of links that are super helpful if you're looking for Amazon stuff, if you're looking for this video or any other video that I've done in an article form. You can see all the sources that I've looked at. They're linked in my Medium down below. Check them out, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.